sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed ground. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet, the perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Next Level Racing starts now. With just 2 rounds left in the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series, it's time to wind down on the road courses. Today we head to America's National Park of Speed and get ready to crown our road course champion. Hello everyone and welcome back to racespottv and coverage of the MOZA Racing Grand Prix of Road America presented by Deway's Candy. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. My name is Arjuna Kankipani, delighted as always to be joined in the racespottv commentary booth by the one and only DJ Clark, and let's dive straight into our next level racing pre-race show, because DJ, this season started back in March and it is winding its way down, and maybe there is no better place to finish up the road championship than here in Elkhart Lake.
I certainly can't think of one, Arjuna, and it is crazy to think that we have gone this far from March 3rd all the way here to Road America. I can still remember that race from Homestead, Miami, as if it were yesterday. We've crisscrossed the country, crisscrossed the globe to get here, and it has been one heck of a ride.
Oh, it has indeed, and we know we're in for a treat in these final 2 races, not just here at Road America, but of course the double point showdown that will round things up. December 15th, join us as we not only finish this season, but indeed all of Lionheart sanctioned competitions for 2022 as we run you down through your next level racing series schedule. Let's take a look though at the next level racing driver standings, because, well, double points on the line for the final round of the season means that Mike Rasmussen does have a little bit to be worried about. But he is starting to build up that advantage and somewhat comfortable heading into these penultimate couple of rounds. David Sirwar, Matt Taylor, and then Michael O'Brien embroiled in a fight for second. But again, the reality is, if that Graphics LC number 68 can stay out of trouble, Rasmus has one hand on the championship.
Yes, he certainly does, and as we saw the approach last couple of times out, it looks like Rasmus knows that. He's just playing things cautiously here at this point, focusing on getting top 5s and getting good points in each round rather than going for the outright win.
Ricky Harding and Tyler Groff having a fight over 6th spot as well in the championship. We'll try and track that over the course of these next 2 races. It's swapped around at the top, though, of the HyperX team standings. Graphics LC have led for the last handful of rounds, but it's now MadWorks Motorsports that regained the lead in the championship, albeit by just 15 points. The reality is this is a battle that will come down to the very final laps in Auto Club. Raven Lavoie by themselves in 3rd, RSR by buttkicker establishing themselves in 4th. But what a monumental tussle at the top here, DJ.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous to see it this close. I mean, separated by 15 points in the team's championships with 2 races to go, and that double header, that double points finish coming down in Fontana. It's exactly the kind of stuff that you want championships to be made of.
While 2 championships are very close, there is one that is not. It is the buttkicker rookie championship, where David Rodriguez is more than 120 points clear. So as long as he manages to hold on to the form that he has, he runs 4th in the practice session here tonight. Right now, he should hold the buttkicker Rookie of the Year championship. Of course, the partial season that we saw from him in 2021 definitely helping him get up to speed a little bit quicker. Watch behind Daniels, Munoz, Herrick, and Gallus, all still in contention with those behind in what is a fun little fight in the buttkicker Rookies championship for 2nd on back. Here's a look though at your Gomez Sim Industry Series details in Season 6 of this the Lionheart Retro Series were campaigning the Grand Prix machine that was the Lotus 79, bringing ground effect to the forefront of Formula 1. It's a custom fit setup that all drivers must deal with. The only adjustments they have, their 2 hands and their 2 feet. They fight for their share of $7,000, with the championship winner walking away with the Next Level Racing GT Track cockpit, as well as a MOZA Racing direct drive wheelbase and Formula steering rim. So one more Triple Crown with a new champion in both our categories to be crowned. Plenty of excitement as we get ready to go at this America's National Parker Speed, as we get ready to crown a road course champion now. Interestingly, the winner has started from the front 3 spots in every single one of the races so far here, but only twice has someone been able to dominate at the front of the field. DJ last year was maybe the closest that we've seen, albeit with a lot of the lead changes happening on strategy. I'm not really sure I know what to expect heading into tonight.
Well, I can guarantee you the one thing to expect is that we're going to be talking a lot about the 1 second mark around this Road America circuit. That is the point where you start to lose the draft of the car in front of you. And if you fall behind that 1 second mark, that means that it is going to be very, very difficult to get on by. So I think a lot of these drivers are going to be pushing and really hustling their cars to try to stay within that 1 second mark of the drivers in front of them.
So qualifying going to get underway for those drivers. They throw 10 minutes onto the clock and they all get the track to themselves for what will be 4 flying attempts. We'll track them, of course, with a long pace lap that they've got to walk around first. 4 and a bit miles, over 6.5 kilometers. We've had a bit of a change this year, DJ, of course, when it's come to tires. Bias-ply tires for so long, they've seen no pit stops in terms of tire changes in this series, in this car. But that's not been the case here in 2022.
No, it certainly hasn't. The new tire model that was updated near the end of last season has really changed things around, and I think this is one of the few road courses that we may perhaps see some tire changing take place. Road America is notoriously difficult on tires, with a lot of high-speed corners around here, puts a lot of pressure, particularly on the left side tires, and especially with track temperatures as hot as they are right now, about 115 degrees Fahrenheit. I would not be surprised if we see more than a fair few tire changes when these drivers come into pit lane.
And remember, when we talk about pit lane, it's a tricky pit entry. You uphill and blind, basically trying to spot where you have to slow yourself down to speed limit. And no speed limiter for these cars compared to the Dallara IR18 that the drivers in the Lionheart IndyCar series at least have to save and bail them out. So I think pit lane in general going to be a hot button topic here today. Drivers completing their outlap, getting their tires exactly where they need to be. A quick look at the weather conditions, DJ, and by no means is it a cool day here out in Wisconsin. 46 degrees Celsius, 115 Fahrenheit on the track itself. We talk about the potential for tire changes, but even this qualifying session, it'll be interesting to see just how we're able to get some speed out of the rubber.
Yeah, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. The other thing that I have my eye on is that gusting wind that we see at about 9 to 11 miles an hour. That's going to lead to some headwinds and tailwinds down these straightaways in particular. And when that starts to come into play, you're going to see the draft be all the more important.
So in qualifying, we get the first of the cars getting the lap time started. This Chris Fowler, who was rapid in qualifying, did end up with the fastest time on the board. We'll see exactly how it stacks up, though, in the second session of the day before they move forward to the race itself. This one of those primary passing opportunities down the hill into turn number 5. Then you walk up underneath the Corvette bridge. Tight little left-hander where it is very tricky to be stuck side by side and then punted wide into the grass and gravel. Hurry through the hurry downs, down the hill, and so much of this track, DJ, is made up of 90-degree corners, but they all have ups and downs. They all have bumps that make them different, and they can be so deceptive at times.
Yeah, very deceptive indeed. When you talk about coming up and over turn 6, you've got to be very, very careful to apply the throttle gingerly coming through that corner. Very easy to spin the rear tires there. Then coming down in through turn 7, a little bit wider than a 90-degree corner, but you're able to carry a lot of good speed through there. Turn 8, same kind of situation that you run into for turn 5. Both downhill corners, you've got to be careful not to lock up the fronts, and then especially here through Canada corner, try to carry as much speed as possible. There's plenty of that runoff there on the outside that you can take a big, big chunk of, and that's really what you're going to want to do to try to maximize a lap here. And then, of course, coming down into this final corner, another one of those areas. Maximize speed, take as much of that runoff as possible, and really keep your momentum up.
Yeah, I did notice not using that much track at Bill Mitchell Bend, so I'm curious what it will be in terms of lap times. 1:53.7, and I do believe that for the most part drivers qualify on race fuel, so not sure exactly where that will stack up, but Fowler will start lap number 2. It's Razmas that had provisional pole, but Taylor grabs it by 0.03 of a second. Now O'Brien storms in by 1/100th of a second. The top 3 splits by 0.5 of a second.
Very, very close up at the front of the field, and that to me is going to be an indication that we are going to be in for a real fantastic race here as we watch the number 45 of Michael O'Brien working his way now down onto the long marine sweep under the Sargento Bridge. This is going to be the part of the track where he's going to be able to relax for just a couple of moments before he has to get down into this tricky braking zone for turn 5.
Now remember, O'Brien has had 4 pole positions this season, just the 1 victory back at the Hungaroring, but can he get another pole added to the tally as half the qualifying session is officially done? 19 drivers have lap times set. We have an additional 6 yet to punch in something onto the board. Only Jim Herrick has a penalty to talk of, an end of line for avoidable contact at our previous race at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Now, I'm seeing lots of good trends on the timing screen right now. Fowler will be once again one of the first across the line. He is not one of those that indicates that well. David Sirrah, quite shocked to see him 0.4 almost off the pace in qualifying, but he does look like he's found just a little bit more.
Yeah, and Sirrah is one of the guys that we've talked about over our most recent run of oval races, that his oval prowess has really come alive. But Sirrah now a bit of a roadmeister. He should be able to put in a good time. Here comes Fowler to the line. Looks like that's not going to be an improvement there for him. Rasmus, that is going to be an improvement up to pole.
Yes, but it's only now 0.08 back to O'Brien. Now, will he find some time? Taylor's found some more, but O'Brien finds his way back to the front, and this time by over 0.1 of a second. They're not stopping in qualifying, DJ. They're continuing to run. There comes David Sirrah to the top of the board.
Up into pole position, and not by a measly margin, by over 0.1 of a second here. The number 99 for Lavoie Motorsports. Absolutely incredible run there. That is really good stuff. And looking at those times, he is particularly quick through Sector 1. So be on the eye for him to be able to sort of streak away at the opening of this lap.
At one point, it was, what, 0.5 that split the top 3. Now it's over 1/4 of a second that splits the top 3. Sirrah will dive down the hill. The championship leader is already heading in through to the carousel, and a big lock of oversteer for Rasmus there. Not always the worst thing in this car with so much power, but these drivers on their penultimate laps, the pressure is starting to build as time winds down in qualifying.
Yeah, only about 3 minutes left to go here in qualifying. I don't think these drivers are actually going to be able to get in the full 4 minutes of allotted. That's the 53. That's Craig Forsyth having a little bit of a problem.
He's not the only one that's had a problem. That was up the hill out of turn 7. This Chris Lanini out of the final corner, just pushing too wide and showing the dangers of really stretching the limits of the track. So Fowler will be first across the line once again. And I think he bailed on lap 2 to try and set up for lap number 3. He'll crest the rise, and it is a rise up to the starting line. It's a 53.5. It will be good enough to work his way forward into 4th provisionally. The championship leader, with no improvement, will not go anywhere. Taylor will jump to 2nd for the moment.
He'll be up there for the moment. Didn't look like an improvement there for Michael O'Brien. And for Rasmus, yes, that's not great. That's not going to be an improvement there for Sirrah as well. But back to Mike Rasmus. Remember, 5th place position. That's really where he's been trying to look in here at this point, holding on to top 5. So it's not absolutely dire here for him. He's only about 0.3 of a second off of the leader. I think for him, he just needs to be a little bit careful as he gets on this first lap and warms the tires up to speed when we go green flag racing.
Now, you are 100% right that Rasmus running in 5th is still perfectly happy with that. Now, once again, the top three are split by half a tenth of a second. Matt Taylor, 2/1000ths split from David Sirwa around 4 miles. 1:53.234 is the provisional benchmark, and I think Taylor has already cut it quits in qualifying. Let's see who's still got something up their sleeves.
Let's see, indeed. I'm looking at times right now. O'Brien looked pretty good there through the first sector. Guyon, not too bad through the second sector as well, so we may see some good times there from him. We ride on board with Chris Fowler, working his way through Cattle Bottoms, down, ready to get onto the braking here through Canada Corner.
Nicely to the apex, but you saw just how squirrely it was as he tried to get onto the power. Now the lap time's trending well, but what will that mean when he actually comes to the line? One final corner to go, runs a little bit wide and gets not just understeer but oversteer as well. The dichotomy of racing. What will it be for Fowler though, as he will cross the line and get the checkered flag for qualifying? It is a 53.4, there is an improvement. It's not good enough to move him forward in the field. A 53.3 though for Rasmus is good enough for him to work his way forward to fourth, as I think David Sirwa says, you know what, I'm not improving, let me practice a pit entry.
And I got to say, that's pretty smart there for Sirwa to be able to do that. That could come out to play in spades later if he's really got that timing down. We keep an eye on Gabriel Wood right there. Looks like he is going to just miss out on setting a time.
It doesn't get much closer, does it? He was pushing, but time does expire. Well, we're ready to go. The Road Course Championship is ready to be decided. Let's run you down through the starting grid for today's MOZA Racing Grand Prix of Road America, presented by Jewers Candy. Here's the look at your butt kicker starting grid. It is David Sirwa that runs at the front. Now remember, Sirwa came into the series expected to be the road course ace, has found some speed on the ovals. That's where the majority of his poles have come from. It's pole number 7 though for the 99. Matt Taylor alongside in the Madworks Motorsports number 8. His teammate Michael O'Brien back in third, with the first of the Graphics LC Motorsports machines on the outside of row number 2. The championship leader, Mike Rasmus, in the sea of Madworks, then sees Chris Fowler back in 5th, with Alex Guyon rounding out the top 6. 2 Raven Lavoie Motorsports cars on the front 3 rows. Gabe Wood, Mark Cohn share row 4 with David Rodriguez and Chris Reagan 9th and 10th positions. Tyler Graff and Ricky Harden will share row number 6, while from 13th, Rodrigo Munoz in the Backfire Motorsports 09 sees Richie Hearn for company. Luke Daniels and Trevor Malone 15th and 16th positions, with Hugo Gallus starting 17th. Chris Staples on the outside of row number 9. Bookending the top 20 is series organizer George Anzaldo, Chris Lanini for company. Craig Forsyth, 2 seconds off. We saw him spinning in qualifying. He's the last car with a time on the board. Danny Roberts, Lionel Callisto, 22nd and 23rd, while Jim Herrick will drop to the very back of the field behind Mike Rigney. One of those cars with no lap times thrown down, as we get ready to go then for what is bound to be an exciting 31 laps, and an exciting 31 laps, DJ, because we have the possibility of a fuel save race.
Yes, we do. The anticipated fuel window, we're looking at probably about a 2-stop race here, with pit stops first firing off around lap 16 to 18, and then again around lap 28 to 30 or so. And that looks to be what it's going to end up breaking down to be. We'll have to see if these drivers are going to be able to stretch it. It's going to be a bit of a splash and dash at the end to be able to make it, but look for that final pit stop to really be the deciding point of just how much fuel these drivers put into the car and how quickly they're able to get around.
I think what we're trying to say is, if we're in draft trains, don't be surprised. It will very much be a race of strategy as much as a race on track. A rundown though through your featured onboard cameras around the full pace lap here in Road America. We ride on board with Mark Cohn in the number 39. He rides with Buttkicker. Sim racing is better with Buttkicker. Visit thebuttkicker.com.
We also have it on board here with Mike Rigney, brought to you by Next Level Racing. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com.
Up in third, Michael O'Brien rides with simrace247.com. Visit simrace247.com, where sim racing is for everyone.
And finally, the HyperX on board, brought to you by Ricky Harden. Here, whenever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game.
And of course, the beauty of sim racing onboard looks with all of the field. So expectations though, DJ, with about an hour of racing estimated for this race, I do, like I say, think we'll see some drivers try and gamble on the one-stop strategy. But if you've got pace, you can break away at the front of the field. There will be those that choose to just push to the end.
Yeah, and this is going to remind me a little bit, I think, of what we saw last year, when we were racing at MOZA. That was a very, very similar race in terms of pit strategy there. You really had to save and conserve, and if you tried to go full out, it just was never going to work out for you. You burn up your stuff a little bit too much, you burn up the fuel a little bit too much, so it's going to be a lot of, frankly, hurry up and wait around here today, Arjuna.
Tire change is something we've discussed already in terms of weather conditions. Another look at them, it's not really changed, but DJ, you did mention the gusts of wind that will blow these cars around. Again, fixed setups through the 25 Lotus 79, so there's no advantage that any one driver has in particular. They've just got to deal with the conditions as they are.
Yeah, they're going to have to deal with them, and they're going to have to sort of be aware of what that wind is doing. If it does pick up a little bit, it's not like these cars are massively top aerodynamic dependent. The majority of the downforce does come from the ground effects underneath the car, but if you get a little bit of a crosswind coming across the car, it can upset the rear end a little bit, so I think drivers are going to have to be sort of on top of that over the course of this running.
It's that time when I'm going to throw you right on the spot and make you pick a prediction for this race. Now, will David Zira be able to maintain the lead at the front of the field, or will those around him challenge as we wind to the close of this road course championship?
Well, my money here is going to be on Zira. I think he has had a fantastic season. We've talked about his oval racing prowess, but he's always been known as a road racing guy. He's going to be the one to watch here from pole position. You
want to know how close it is in the Road Course Championship right now? Mike Rasmus, 332. Michael O'Brien, 332. Matt Taylor, 330. 2 points, splits 3 drivers at the front of this field. What a race we are in for as we get ready to climb up the hill and to set these cars loose at America's National Park of Speed. It's time to go racing for the MOZA Racing Grand Prix of Road America, presented by JewersCandy.com. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the end of the Road Course Championship. A great start from David Zira. Side by side, the Madworks Motorsports teammates will duke it out on the run to turn number 1. David Rodriguez shuffles to the inside as well as they slam onto the brakes. It's a tidy start, though, through the entirety of the field, but now the crucial run out of turn number 3.
And it looks a little bit there that Matt Taylor got a little bit put out coming down through turn 3. That's going to open up the door to Chris Fowler here. Luckily, the whole field able to get through 1, 2, and 3 without any problems here. And that's not something we always say here at Road America.
And now down the hill with cold tires and cold brakes into turn 5. No one locks up. There is some side-by-side. Still Taylor and his teammate Fowler trying to sort it out with a championship leader behind them. Zira trying to break away. They do single file themselves out between the teammates, but still plenty of side-by-side. An incredibly clean start to this race, and now through the hurry downs, the gap at the front of the field is starting to grow.
Yes, it is, and it's already beginning to grow between second and third as well. That crucial 1 second mark that we talked about in the pre-race. Michael O'Brien stretching away to the tune of about 1.1 seconds over Matt Taylor here.
Race starts are so important. Matt Taylor maybe being jumped slightly. O'Brien behind the race leader, able to time the start and launching his way forward and still within drafting range. Ty still will take a lap or so to get up to temperature, but by this point he will have settled into somewhat of a rhythm. Bit of a lock up there from O'Brien as they dive through Canada corner. No moves forthcoming at the front of the field, and already 9/10 clear. David Zira has converted pole to the lead of this race. O'Brien, Taylor, Fowler, and Rasmus will complete the top 5 as we round the final corner, head up the hill, and finish lap number 1 with George Enzaldo at the back of the field experiencing some trouble.
Yeah, I believe he and Lionel Callisto both had a little bit of a problem there, separated incidents there on that first lap. But up at the front of the field here, Sirois is starting to pull away a little bit, but I think the crucial thing for him here at this point is being in the front of this train. He's not going to be able to save all that much fuel. He's not going to be able to do what Michael O'Brien here is doing, so we're going to have to see what the strategy for the number 99 is over the course of the race.
And technically, it's not really broken away in terms of second and third. Yes, it's over the 1 second bubble, but it hasn't really grown much more than that. Let's get a replay of what happened then on lap number 1. So it's, I think, Chris Lanini that dives to the inside of George Anzaldo. There's a bit of contact, and then in the checkup, that's where I think Callisto goes off the road, and Callisto has a lot of damage as well.
Yeah, and that was my mistake there. It's actually Lionel looks like he is in pit lane right now. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of room for Lionel to go. You can see the damage there on the left-hand side of the car. Looks like Little Train is in pit lane. He's been able to get repairs taken out of the car right now, but I got to think that car is going to be hurt.
Let's see exactly how long he will be able to handle it rather out on track. We're right on board with Michael O'Brien in that second spot. You can see the shot through the kink where, of course, Catherine Ledge had that huge incident all those years ago. My days, what a high committed corner it really is, no matter what car you are driving in. O'Brien very tidy this time under the brakes. A lap on from that lockup that we saw from him. Now, at the start of this race, maybe not that much shuffling. We'll see how much fighting that will be right now. Already the top 10 or so split by 6.4 seconds as we'll wind to the end of lap 2 with a gap between the top 3 starting to shrink.
Yeah, it's starting to come down a little bit. Taylor was able to take about 0.3 of a second there out on that last lap, and so that'll be what he wants to do. Again, keep that gap under about a second, as he actually set the fastest lap of the race last time out with the 53.569.
So it is Matt Taylor that is finding some speed. Michael O'Brien in the perfect spot to save the fuel. Well, since we've got a bit of calm at the start of this race, maybe not unexpected, let's talk about rather our MOZA Racing driver profile, and it's David Rodriguez, still under investigation for his oversized fuel tank at Iowa last year. That was the scene of his first victory in the 24 starts that we've seen out of him. 16 top 10 speaks to the consistent level of pace that we see from him. His first start coming back on the short ovals, and what a run it's been for him now. 2 victories to his name.
Yeah, he is one that has really surprised everybody over the course of the running. And I for one want to know still how he pulled that off in Iowa. I don't know if you remember this, Arjuna. I was running second to him through the majority of that race. And I have no idea how he managed to save that much.
I try not to bring it up.
That's fair. It's not a hard point. That one just got away.
Well, at the front of the field, it has very much closed up, by the way. Taylor now within 0.8 of his teammate, and basically a drafting train that goes all the way back, realistically, to 13th spot. So settle in for this one. Grab your popcorn or your tea, whatever you want to drink, and you're in for a bit of a ride. However exciting it will be. What a shot the Marshall spot would have there through Bill Mitchell Bend. Now they're using a lot more of the track than they were in qualifying, but of course, the thing that we're curious about is just how much the tires are truly going to end up wearing. Now, in terms of team championship, it doesn't get much better than this for Madworks Motorsports, running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yeah, they're going to be very pleased with that, and I think for Graphics LC, they've got to start to try to charge their way up through the field here. Tyler Groff already up 2 positions, one of the leaders in that team, and he is, as I said, up to working on the back of David Rodriguez right now, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to get a little bit more running. I'm going to be keeping my eye on Tyler to see if he is charging up through the field or if he is going to be relatively content here at this point to just stay in line.
Right on board with the buttkicker onboard camera and Mark Cohn, not in the Pink Panther this time out, but running just outside the top 11 after being passed by Chris Reagan. Now back and forth they go. Now David Rodriguez forced wide by Tyler Groff, who swoops his way on past, and sometimes down at turn number 5. That's really all you've got to do.
Yeah, if you're able to just position yourself to the inside, you can definitely drive the other driver out a little bit onto the outside track, try to push a little bit there as they go. And that was a good move from Groff. Very clean, but elbows out. That's the kind of stuff you want to see, and that's the way you have to get by here at Road America.
So Lionel Kalista, the only driver that's been forced to take a trip to pit lane, 30 seconds stationary for him to update you. He runs about 70 seconds behind your race leader. And speaking of whom, at the front of the field, we got the conga line forming behind David Sirwa. O'Brien, Taylor, Fowler, and Rasmus now enjoying the hole in the air that the 99 is punching. We jump on board with Fowler, fastest in practice, then of course 5th in qualifying, but has worked his way past the championship leader to complete the trio of teammates that run 2nd through 4th.
Yeah, everybody just sitting in that calm position here at this point. This is really what we kind of thought was going to happen, Arjuna. Seeing a lot of these drivers just waiting in line. Again, though, Matt Taylor setting the fastest lap of the race last time out at 53.0. And part of the reason for that is these cars do respond very well to lighter fuel loads. When the fuel burns off, they're going to get tighter, or they're going to get looser, they're going to get faster, but they are going to get a little bit twitchier as they run. And so you have to be all over the wheel at that point when these get on really, really light fuel tanks.
We see trouble at the back of the shot. Rodrigo Munoz pointed in the wrong direction out of turn number 2, so we'll have to see exactly what has befallen him, but whatever it is, it did not look good. We're back with those leaders, though, as they work out of turn 6. Munoz has taken the tow back to pit lane, I can confirm! Oh. More trouble out of turn 5. Mark Cohn and Richie Hearn go for a spin. Wow, it's all kicking off after a clean lap number 1.
Yeah, it certainly is. I couldn't tell exactly what happened there with Mark. I just saw the two of them coming together into turn 5 as we check out exactly here what happened earlier on in the lap. Yep, just got a little bit of the outside, and that was enough to send him around.
Everyone gets on through safely, but as Cohn and Hearn battle side by side, well, I think maybe we'll get a look from up above, but Richie Hearn tries to push Cohn all the way out wide and then some.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of that move that we talked about earlier on. Let's see if we can get this coming in. Richie's going to dive down to the inside. He's going to be about halfway alongside. Gives him space, dives it down in, and I think you're right about that, Arjuna. Just a little bit too much of a push.
I wonder if both those cars now, though, very much worse for the wear. It was Chris Lanini that took to the grass, or rather almost to the grass, to get on by. Mark Cohn also requiring the tow on the same lap as Rodrigo Munoz. A challenge for the race lead, though. Here comes Michael O'Brien to the inside of the 99 and into turn number 1. The 45 car will slide his way on through, and while Sirwa will continue to fight into turn 3, they've got to make sure they don't compromise too much.
I love this from David Sirwa. I would have thought that he wanted to let him on by and maybe save some fuel, but Sirwa is loving being in the lead of this race, and he's not stopping. He's trying to push back ahead and retake the lead.
Matt Taylor had the tow, but elected not to force the issue. Now Sirwa has the inside down the hill into turn number 5. O'Brien goes wide, though, trying to maintain some momentum into the corner, and still somehow they fight side by side. It will be Sirwa that regains the race lead, but my word, it is turning into a brawl at the front of the field.
And once again, loving this out of Sirwa, just that ability and that tenacity, not wanting to give the lead of the race away. That, to me, says that he may be worried a little bit about O'Brien, Taylor, and Fowler's pace behind him, that he thinks that those 3 MadWorks Motorsports drivers can outrun him down some of these long straights, and he doesn't want to let that away.
Sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Maybe Sirwa and Rasmus have to try and work together here, because you can see the gap to Gabe Wood has grown to over 3 seconds. 5 cars fighting at the front of the field. Behind them, still fighting, it's Chris Lanini, as well as Danny Roberts, Jim Herrick, all going back and forth at this one. This is for 18th position, DJ.
I mean, when you've got a battle in front of you, you've got to fight it out. But too wide through the kink, that's a little bit of a sketchy proposition. As there you see Lanini not only losing out on that potential position, but Danny Roberts able to slip on by him.
You got Mike Rigney closing as well, but we check back in with your race leaders as they come across the line once more. No challenge forthcoming this time from O'Brien. I'm still wondering what's going on with the fuel games. Now remember, a 31-lap race with the window estimated anywhere from 14 to 16 laps. Yes, 16 laps is going to require some fuel saving, but to eliminate what is a lengthy pit stop here, is that the worst idea in the world? I do not know. Ricky Harding passed by Luke Daniels. Some of these drivers, of course, embroiled in the fight for the butt-kicker Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, they certainly are, as they work their way ahead right now. We watch that number 28 machine trying to just hold on as much as possible. Hardin, who is by no means a rookie here in this field, trying to work his way forward a little bit.
Down the hill, Richie Hearn does not overextend himself into the braking zone this time around. Race control, of course, will investigate some of these incidents after the conclusion of the race at the checkered flag, so what happened to the likes of Jim Herrick, end-of-line penalty at the very start of this race. In terms, by the way, of lap records, I was curious about this. We've just been getting quicker at Road America. Part of it, of course, the changing nature of the tires, but you compare back to Season 1 when Ryan Otis had pole with a 1:15.105. Last year, it was a 1:12.070 for Michael O'Brien to get to pole position. I mean, we're not far off that. We're about a second slower, but it's hard to go apples to apples when even more about the car has changed. But my days, these drivers are driving something totally different to all those years ago.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I can tell you from experience, there is so much less you can lean on the rubber, lean on the tires now on this new tire update. You're really not able to push as hard as you used to be. You've got to be very careful and conserve those tires. Last year when we ran this series, the only track that we really had to worry about any sort of tire degradation on was Phillip Island. Now you've got to worry about almost every track you come to.
And I like that we've had that little change in complexion. It has very much made the racing a little bit more enjoyable. Now O'Brien close again, and I do think he'll go for it to the inside at 5, and this may be a better place to commit. Sirron not able to run all the way out wide. Taylor has a little wiggle as well, back in third. Sirron tries to hang on once again, but this time O'Brien is clear and to the race lead.
All right, so now it may be time here for David Sirron to just wait, but it looks like Taylor's going to try to take a little bit of a peek down to the inside of the 99 going into turn 8. That's not going to play itself out, but he's going to have a look going into the carousel.
Ooh, there was never really a door there. Taylor trying to work forward and make it a Madworks 1 and 2 and let the teammates dictate the tempo. But Sirron now will have the actual perfect opportunity. Half a second back from O'Brien and will have a mega tow, while Matt Taylor's got to be much more calculated in how he approaches this move and the run into Canada corner. He'll jink to the inside at the very final moment, and Taylor will get it done, parking it on the apex and sliding up to second.
And that was a beautiful, beautiful defense midway through the corner. You called it there, Arjuna, perfectly, that he just popped that car at the apex and prevented a crossover move from Sirron. That's what Sirron was trying to get done, but just wasn't able to execute it. And look at that gap already starting to open up.
And now it's Madworks 1 and 2. Can they make it 1, 2, and 3? Because the next target in mind will be Chris Fowler trying to get on past Sirron. From first to third in the space of one lap. How things will change at Road America. However, now maybe this is what Sirron will need to focus in on what we think is the superior strategy, the fuel-saving game.
Well, at this point, I think with the speed we're seeing out of him, he may have to worry a little bit about losing touch with the drivers up in front of him. That is not good running. Here comes Fowler. He's going to look to the outside.
Brave to go to the outside, though, if we're being totally honest, and David Sirron is going to make him pay. I think there was a bit of contact there. And the Raven Lavoie 99 will hold third, but like you say, the gap momentarily had grown. We'll now be able to see if he will be focused on keeping it on the straight and narrow. Let's grab a look at something that's befallen another Backfire Motorsports machine, and again it's through turn 1, and it's not identical to what happened to Rodrigo Munoz, but well, Hugo Gallas has found out just how tricky that first corner can truly be.
Yeah, if you just run a little bit too wide there, it'll come back to bite you, Arjuna. And one of the things about that corner is you look at it on a map from above, and it doesn't necessarily seem like it is all that complex of a corner, but you have got to carry massive speed through there to be able to execute on it perfectly.
We grab a look at two different battles going on right now. Up top, the battle for first. Down low, the battle for 11th. as Richie Hearn defends from Luke Daniels and Ricky Harden. Ricky Harden, by the way, making his 50th career start. So notching up half a century. We'll hope for another 50 more as they work through Bill Mitchell Bend, of course, now with Richie Hearn a full 5 full seconds back from Chris Reagan. They very much are fighting amongst themselves. Michael O'Brien with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:53.036, using the clean air at the front of the field.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's doing a great job to be able to keep himself forward there. Oh, car off.
Now, how do you get... Oh, it's at turn 1. That's how you get out that wide. Chris Reagan, another driver finding out how tricky turn 1 can truly be.
Yep, Chris Reagan there. I wouldn't have expected that. Oh, that's very strange. The car just absolutely snapped on him there as if the rear tires locked up. A little bit of a problem there.
Yeah. Whoa, and he blows. It's on the downshift. He overshifts on the engine. You can hear the engine go pop and say, no more, thank you very much. Chris Reagan's day will come to an end in rather unfortunate circumstances. And speaking of Chris's, now Chris Staples has a moment as well, and Trevor Malone gets involved in it.
Yeah, it looks like Trevor there just not really able to extricate himself around that from turn 5. We'll take a look at the replay here as we ride on board with Staples. Malone starting to close down behind him. Oh, contact.
A tag from behind, and oh! A little bit of afters.
Yeah, I'm not sure necessarily there if that was Staples not holding his brake or exactly what that was at that point in the field, but not what you want to see there. Don't want to see that little bit of post-extracurricular activity, let's call it.
Here we look at one of our other little battle packs, and there are plenty of them splintered up and down. Guyon, Wood, Graf, and Rodriguez, with now Wood slipping behind the Raven Lavoie Motorsports machine on this lap itself. If you see the track map as your leaders work their way into turn number 1, the stragglers at the back of the field still struggling to come into Canada Corner. Lap traffic maybe not something we're thinking too much about. However, you will see there are pockets of air for leaders to try and do something in terms of strategy with.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing, I think, here for these leaders. Is it's not necessarily coming up on lap traffic and having to deal with them. Road America is a pretty wide circuit. There's plenty of areas to get out of the way. But I think what they are going to have to deal with is finding those pockets of clean air to come out in. You do not want to find yourself bottled in behind another car when you come out of the pits. It'll be fine if you're just behind one coming down through turns 1, 2, or 3. You're able to get the pass done on the Marine Sweep. But when you come down here into the hurry downs, you can find yourself really, really bottled up behind another car and losing about half a second.
Got to hurry down through the hurry downs indeed, and now onto the brakes downhill once again. So many different sort of braking zones to try and challenge yourself with as we ride on board with the driver that threw it on pole position for the 7th time in his Lionheart Retro Series career, but David Siron now runs down in 3rd. On lap 11, only a handful of laps away from getting into that pit stop window, where maybe, just maybe, if you can go to lap 15 or 16, you can think about doing a one-stop race. I think the expectation will be here, DJ, to try and do a 15-lap stint maybe in this first stint, because let's not forget, they had to do a full pace lap at the start of this one.
You read my mind, Arjuna. I think that's going to be about what we see for a lot of these drivers. 15 laps. If they're able to make it to 15 laps, you're still going to be having to do some fuel saving on the back end to be able to make it to lap 31. But 15 should be about the good point. If you're able to make it to 16, then you should be in the clear, no questions asked.
Yeah, if you're at 16, you're 100% clear. Now, they are basically just trading lap times back and forth at the front now. 1:52.4. 8.2, the fastest lap of the race for David Sirah. So you did say they become rocket ships as we burn the fuel off, and we are seeing that. Mike Rasmussen maybe struggling in some ways to hold on, but I wonder exactly what's going on there. And you can also see Guyon has built some separation to Tyler Graf, who's also gone and past Gabe Wood. So the tires on the JD Esports 04 starting to go off as Fowler takes a look to the inside of Sirah.
Yeah, Fowler, I think, starting to be a little bit aggressive here. That, to me, would tell me that Chris has hit his fuel numbers, that he knows he's going to be good to get to that 15-16 lap point, and he's ready to be aggressive and start to fight with David Sirois. So this is going to be a battle that I think is going to keep going on here for the next couple of laps, potentially.
Just wonder how much you really are going to want to force the issue if you are a Chris Fowler, and maybe just wait until after pit stops, although I think the reality is you don't want to follow people in on pit entry, but by the same token, you don't want people following you in. Lose-lose situation if you really ask me. Tyler Croft clears a little bit out of Gabe Wood's vicinity, out of the carousel, and now David Rodriguez will try and work his way forward. Tyler Croft up 4 positions so far this race.
Yeah, up 4 positions. I mentioned a little bit earlier that Tyler could be one of those ones that wants to charge his way through the field, try to be able to hold on to the team's championship there for Graphics LC Motorsports. So he is doing everything he can here at this point.
It really is new colors this time out for Tyler Croft, as they will finish lap 12 and tick over to lap 13. Well, as I said last time, Rasmus may be struggling. This time he grabs the fastest lap of the race. Lap 13. Lap 14 was the first of the indicated pit window opening, but I don't necessarily really expect that. At least I would not want to be the one to pit on that lap. I mean, DJ, let's also not forget that these aren't just drivers fighting for the win, not just drivers fighting for points in the championship. But between Rasmus, O'Brien, and Taylor, the road championship is on the line.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's something we haven't really highlighted here, but they're going to want to be fighting for that is here. We've got a little bit of close running with Chris Staples and Craig Forsyth. Forsyth going to hold it around the outside there, coming down through turn 3, and I think Trevor Malone maybe is licking his lips here on the popcorn position, ready to take a 2-for-1.
Doesn't have the double toe, and he's got his lines kind of blocked off right now. He doesn't know which direction to jink to be fair. Will elect to just roll back in time as Danny Roberts fights with Jim Herrick behind them. It will be Staples that finds the front. Malone with a bit of overlap down into turn 6, but Forsyth able to shut the door as they crested the blind entry into turn 6. Good fighting up and down through the field. Of course, the warmer the conditions, the easier it is to fuel save, and if anything, it's gotten warmer since we started this race off, DJ.
Yeah, it's ticked up by about 1 degree Fahrenheit, up to 117 degrees on track right now. And we are at just about 1:20 p.m. virtual standard time. So I would anticipate this track getting a little bit toastier here until the end of the race. I don't think we're going to see a lot of relief.
Yeah, I would not expect so either. Not much cloud cover that we've really seen. So this is that magic lap. Lap 14, when the fuel window was expected to open for drivers. Exactly how will they play this one out? Well, I was talking about maybe some of the drivers in qualifying not using as much of the track as they should through Bill Mitchell Bend. Gabe Wood turns in a bit early and then uses a whole much more than he intended to.
Yeah, and that's actually a surprisingly easy thing to do, even in these high downforce Lotus 79s, Arjuna. You have to be pixel perfect coming through Bill Mitchell Bend. If you get a little bit too much of that interior curb, or you're off of the apex just a little bit, that's enough to be able to throw you off, and that's exactly what happened there to Gabe Wood.
Oh, Chris Fowler takes a bit of a bump on the exit of the curb at turn 7. Hopefully no divot to put some damage onto his car. Very curious what will happen this lap as we get ready to see maybe drivers onto pit lane, maybe those already thinking they can make it on a one-stop. Madworks Motorsports runs 1 and 2 with Michael O'Brien in front of Matt Taylor. I think Gabe Wood, by the way, has had more trouble this lap because, well, he's now 4+ seconds back from David Rodriguez and has lost about 3 seconds this lap alone. So let's see if we can pick up what's happened to him. But here they come out of the final corner. Who jinks to the right and who heads to the safety of pit lane?
Oh, lots of drivers coming down into pit lane. O'Brien, Sirois, Fowler, and interestingly here, Taylor and Rasmus able to make it around for one more lap.
Well, I'm not shocked Sirwa has come in. I am maybe not shocked that O'Brien has had to come in. And I'm maybe not shocked that Fowler has had to come in. But a great performance from Taylor and Razmas so far. Will either of them be able to extend one more lap and then just push from here to the end of this race? 1.1 the gap between Taylor and Razmas. Razmas not totally secure in the draft.
No, he's not. He's going to be out of the draft, and crucially, that is going to prevent him from really being able to try to do a little bit of fuel saving here if he wants to try to eke out a little bit more. Crucially, farther back in the field, looks like Gabe Wood, David Rodriguez not coming down into pit lane either.
Sorry to ooh over you there, DJ, but we've got some split calls here. O'Brien, 7.1. Fowler, 7.1. I think the MadWorks Motorsports duo conceding they will need a pit stop. David Siron, 9.1, I think, is going to try and make it to the end of this race.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting indeed to see if he's able to do it. And I think the best way to be able to tell is keeping an eye on his pace. If he falls off the back here a little bit, that means he's going to be in heavy fuel save mode.
Taylor and Razmas through the kink, with Razmas, the championship leader, able to close, albeit slightly, on this lap and get himself a little bit more assistance as we get set for what will be another fascinating trip through the final corner, and then seeing which machine has done enough to do one further lap and make their life that much easier to the end of the race. Neither of them has. They will pit at the end of lap 15, but they've done at least half the work so far.
Yes, they have, and crucially here, Arjuna, I just went back and took a look at O'Brien, Fowler, and Sirwa's pit stops. None of them took tires, so it looks like they're going to have to nurse them around here for the rest of this running. My question now is going to be, though, is if either of our leaders, Taylor or Rasmus, maybe take this opportunity to take tires on the perfect split strategy here if they can make it to the end.
So we're going to see as the two trundle down. Rasmus did a great job of closing on pit entry, but as Michael O'Brien powers under the NTT bridge, neither of the two cars up on the jacks, fuel only, and as they roll, Michael O'Brien with a slightly shorter fill will emerge in the race lead, but Mike Razmas will jump in front at the very least of David Sirwa. MadWorks Motorsports now run 1, 2, and 3.
And interesting there, looking at those times, it looks like pretty much everybody in the top four was in that 7-second window for fuel. It was only only David Sirwa that was in the 9-second realm. So I'm maybe thinking there that Sirwa's trying to do a one-stop, and O'Brien, Taylor, Fowler, and Rasmus maybe trying to go for a 2.
And there you see left side of the screen, the bit of the split there. And Michael O'Brien has already broke drafting range. He's got to just hope now that David Sirwa cannot make it what would be effectively 17 laps on fuel. I think that's an order too much, but again, maybe at the very least, Sirwa will have a little bit less fuel to fill in the final stop. However, these cars, as we say, are always lighter on lower fuel. O'Brien maybe will clear away at the very front of the field as Jim Herrick is parked somewhere he was definitely not meant to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure where exactly Jim went off, but that may have been another turn 1 incident potentially for him. Drivers right now working their way around. Taylor looking pretty good here, trying to hold off Chris Fowler as they run down into Canada corner. I think here the big question for a lot of these guys is going to be Rasmus, what he decides to do, if he wants to try to press his advantage here, or if he's just content to ride around in 4th place.
Let's see if we can pick up what happened there to Jim Herrick. Looks like it's into turn 1. And he's out of pit lane. George Anzaldo trying to figure out which line to run, and will jump on board with that number 6. And well, I'm a bit confused overall by that one, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange incident there. It looked like there may have been a little bit of daylight there in between the two, but I think George just on the fly there, not necessarily looking down to the inside, not really recognizing where that car was going to be, and having a little bit of problems there as a result of it.
Still, Roberts and Staples are fighting as out of Bill Mitchell Bend. Bit of an almost moment there for one of those cars. Further forward, it's Richie Hearn and Luke Daniels side by side. Elite West Racing and 4D Sim Racing, but Former real-world driver Richie Hearn holds on for now, and we've always seen a decent amount of road pace out of Richie. It's good to see it out of Luke Daniels now as well.
Yeah, good to see these two definitely in a little bit of a battle, and they're going to be in a full-on drag race here under the Sargento Bridge. That's going to be Hearn down to what was the inside. He's going to tuck back in behind Luke Daniels, try to pick up a little bit more of a draft. And I think Richie just choosing discretion is the better part of valor, not wanting to go for it quite yet.
Quite yet, and maybe, but time is winding down at the very end of the day. We are more than halfway through this race right now, and the gap at the front of the field is up to almost 2.5 seconds. O'Brien has well and truly cleared his way at the front.
Yeah, he really has. He's stretching out here up the front of the field. Oh, that's the number 28. That's Luke Daniels around.
And now he's got to do the infinite point turn to try and find his way back around. And, well, we get the tail end of the incident there, but it would appear at first indication he loses it by himself.
Yeah, that's Richie Hearn behind him, just turned in a little bit too much. I wonder if that's another similar issue with blipping through the gears a little bit in the rear end, breaking away, maybe just carrying a hair too much speed into the corner, and that was enough to throw him off.
Fortunately, it was only a 2-point turn, so it didn't lose too much time there. 2.8 at the line between O'Brien and Taylor. Fowler now maybe thinking he might be a bit faster than his teammate. I think so much will still depend on that final cycle of pit stops. Do not count David Sirois out of this one yet. However, crucially, he does not have the benefit of any sort of draft in front of him.
No, he doesn't, but Arjuna, at this point in the race, he is still going to be able to save a little bit of fuel. What he can do is, particularly through some of the higher speed corners on this track, he can do a little bit of lifting mid-corner to try to not use as much fuel. That way, he can also lift and coast coming down into some of the heavier braking zones like Turn 5 or Canada Corner. So hope is not all lost if you're David Sirois. We
are more than halfway through this MOZA Racing Grand Prix of Road America presented by JewersCandy.com. It is Michael O'Brien that has began to run away at the front, almost 3 seconds clear of his chasing teammates behind. We're ready to crown a road course champion, and the run to the checkered flag coming up next on racespottv.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Welcome back to racespottv and coverage of the penultimate round of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series here from America's National Park of Speed. It's the MOZA Racing Grand Prix of Road America, presented by jurascandy.com. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside in the racespottv commentary booth by the one and only DJ Clark in what is a fascinating tussle at the very front of the field. With 12 laps to go, Michael O'Brien has built up a 2.7 second advantage, but DJ, the expectation is still that there are some games with strategies left to play.
Yeah, particularly looking here at David Sirwa to see what he is going to be able to do, potentially running this one-stop strategy, and we're theorizing maybe that O'Brien, Taylor, Fowler, and Rasmus may be on a two-stop, but that is still all to be determined here. 12 laps to go. There is still plenty of strategy left to be played out.
Plenty of racing still left to come as well at what is one of the longest tracks that we visit this season. That gap going back and forth as they work down through the carousel. Not just fighting at the very front of the field, they're fighting all the way through. We've checked in with these guys on a number of occasions. It's 15th on back, Danny Roberts, Chris Staples, and Trevor Malone that continue to duke it out. We've got these little battle packs that have formed all the way through the field, and this really is one of the best tracks to go wheel-to-wheel racing around the entirety of the USA.
Yeah, it really is, Arjuna. I mean, they call this place the National Park of Speed, and I will tell you that it is just as gorgeous and as special on the sim as it is in real life. You really get a sense of the history and the amount of competition that has been here over the years. It is a gem of a racing circuit.
An old school track as well, with such minimal runoff. It does punish you for your mistakes. Let's see if we can cycle through some of the other storylines in the field if we can. Doesn't look like any of the battles that we were tracking earlier are still close. Ricky Harden on his 50th career start seems due for a top 10 as it runs right now. Gabe Wood trying to hunt him down after sliding his way through the field. You can see those movers and shakers. Gabe Wood -4, but the likes of Craig Forsyth +8 and into 13th so far.
Yeah, Gabe's having a good run out here today. Forsyth as well, being able to hold on to that. Also want to give some credit to Davey Roberts, who's up 7 positions here at this point. We've had a fair number of drivers farther back down in the field that have really been able to take advantage here of some of the sketchiness from some of these drivers, and they're doing a great job to put themselves into a position to be in contention for that top 10, top 15.
Slow and steady sometimes wins the race, and just being consistent across the course of a season will put you in a very good spot in the championship. Staples Roberts, let's check in with this battle once again into turn 1. A cone goes flying, and the 43 deep in the brakes, and Danny Roberts holds on to 15th.
I can't believe he was able to hold on to that for now. They're sweeping around the outside, though is still going to be Roberts. He does not want to let that P15 up at all.
They are definitely starting to push themselves quite hard, losing time as well to those in front, and a great shot as Trevor Malone will pop out to the inside, down in towards turn number 5. Look how it concertinas up. Can Malone get it hooked up? Grabs a little bit too much of the inside curb. He'll have a bobble, and Staples should hold on.
And that's just a little bit of what can happen coming down into 5. And again, we talked about earlier on in the broadcast just how difficult it is to be running through turn 6 single file, next to impossible to go double file through there on these open wheel cars. So some good heads up from Trevor Malone to back that off and to not try to press the advantage there at that point.
10 laps to go at the front of the field. Michael O'Brien now 3.3 clear of those behind. David Sirwa about a 7/10 slower than your race leader at the line. However, the question really is not can he do 16 laps, can he do 17 laps? I don't really think that's a feasible idea at this point. However, I'm here to be proven wrong.
Yeah, as am I, and I think the real question is going to be fired off here. We're going to start to have an idea of it. My guess is within about the next 6 to 7 laps. What we heard when we talked to the drivers earlier is expect those that are making the two-stop strategy to come in around lap 28. That's going to give you enough time to be able to come back out in a fight for those final positions, so that should be the marker.
We see someone try something different, though. That is the question. Leading laps are a good sign of victory Last time we were here, Aaron Morgan and Michael O'Brien led 12 laps apiece. It was Morgan that grabbed the victory. O'Brien trying to redeem himself for that one, and looking on course to do so, at least in terms of the speed at the front. After this, of course, a double point, a high-speed thriller at Auto Club, and DJ, I cannot wait to finish up the year of 2022 for Lionheart.
Neither can I, and you and I talked about this last time out at Gateway Arjuna, but such a great way to end the season. A bit of a throwback oval in the way that it runs, the 2-mile circuit. Incredibly fast. You're looking at 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 wide points going down into the corner. It is always a thriller. It's one of my personal favorite circuits in the world, and well, the only real bad thing I have to say about it is I'm sorry that it's going away in real life.
Yeah, it is a shame that that is going to become a short track in the future, but we'll see what American Open World Racing will do in terms of its high-speed speedway racing moving forward, that is for sure. Taylor and Fowler will also recognize that 1, 2, and 3 for Madworks Motorsports, they cannot afford to trip up over themselves. These are valuable points, with Graphics LC relatively struggling in comparison.
Yeah, they're not looking the strongest out here today, and we talked about that team's championship battle really flipping, flopping back and forth here, and Graphics LC just looking out of sorts here today. Obviously, this is a fixed setup series, but it's almost akin to them just coming in with a bad setup and just not looking like they're on top of the game.
Yeah, it doesn't just seem like it's clicking as much as it is for those at the very front of the field. So we're on lap 23, lap 28, the first indicated pit stop window for that second cycle of pit stops. We'll see if that will change itself around though. Michael O'Brien almost 4 seconds clear though now. I think the reality is he is walking his way to what will be a second win of his 2022.
Yeah, he'll be hoping as that is a car. That's O'Brien and Fowler both coming down into pit lane.
I like this to try something different when it comes to O'Brien and Fowler. How will it play in comparison to Taylor, to Rasmus, and to Syrah? Well, now we're going to have to wait and find out.
All right, looks like the two of them coming on in. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to relate in terms of Taylor and Rasmus. We do anticipate them coming in for the second stop. As we said, the big question here is going to be Syrah, one of the longer pit stops on that first pit stop sequence. Will Syrah be able to make this to the end? There we get the live look. Doesn't look like either driver came up onto the jacks. And after about 7 seconds, O'Brien and Fowler are going to be back on their way.
Now, will Fowler emerge with some traffic? You'll have Rodriguez with a head of steam, but number 20 slides just in front of him, and now we'll have to see if Fowler, released and given some clean air, will be able to close to his teammate in front. Now, again, Rasmus will use this opportunity to try and use the draft, because how close did he get to jumping Fowler last time around? Let's see if we get a second bite at the apple.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he's able to do that this time. I can also tell you that Luke Daniels and Craig Forsyth have also come down into pit lane, taking what we anticipate to be their final stop of the race.
Yeah, it's a busy time for those on the pit lane. 8 to go in this one, though. We are very much heading into the very closing stages. You thought Syrah would come out on top. I actually didn't give a prediction, so I'm not going to insert myself into this one, but I don't think it was an unfair prediction. It's just been such a chaotic race in so many ways. Taylor and Rasmus out of the final corner, indicating to the right, they will, at least one will come to pit lane. Mike Rasmus goes 1 lap longer.
Well, Mike was able to save a little bit of fuel. That's certainly what it looked like there for him. Not surprising. Syrah is going to be able to stay out for another lap. We'll keep an eye there on him to see what he is able to do and if he's going to be able to keep carrying along, as it also looks like Tyler Groff going to be coming down into pit lane from P4.
We're not really worried, really, about where Michael O'Brien comes out relative to Matt Taylor. The question really is going to become, where is Chris Fowler relative to Matt Taylor? Because as Taylor hits his marks, not going up on the jacks by any indication, will rev and roll. 6.2 seconds stationary, 6.9 for Fowler. There's the other of the MadWorks Motorsports cars, but Matt Taylor holds on to second.
All right, good jump there for Matt Taylor. And I was going to say I was a little bit surprised there to see O'Brien and Fowler taking such long pit stops, upwards of about 7 seconds. The 6.2, that's more of what I anticipated.
We look top and bottom at not just Matt Taylor, but then also now your new race leader, who is still going to owe us a pit stop, as David Sirah will have to try and see if he can find 7 more laps of fuel. Maybe he's borrowed David Rodriguez's car from Iowa last year.
Maybe he has indeed, Arjuna. We'll have to see if he's able to make this work and just eke out that little bit more fuel. Not the craziest thing in the world that he would be able to do it, but it certainly would be a fantastic and thrilling end to the race if he's able to make this work.
Road America just does not know how to disappoint, does it?
No, it really doesn't. This is, I could wax semi-poetically about this track for days, Arjuna. It is just one of the greatest places to go racing.
It is something special, that is for sure. So, as Mike Rasmas does indeed find his way down to the pit lane, relative to Matt Taylor, where will he emerge? We'll have a lap less fuel to put in, and has had a lap longer on lower fuel. Exciting times for those on pit lane as the championship leader will hit his marks and now hope that everything will go according to the plan. O'Brien, of course, not the major factor. 6.6 for Rasmas compared to the 6.2 for Taylor. And Taylor will hold on to second spot, but Rasmas now has third.
All right, so a jump there of a couple of positions for Mike Rasmus. That's exactly what he would have hoped to have done. Remember, just being able to hold on there and get those top 5s, that is his gain here at this point. That is what he wants to do. The big question, where is Sirah going to come out if he comes out in relation to these drivers?
It's a good question as the 99 winds out of the carousel and towards the kink. Surely he's going to have to come in. If he does manage to get to the end, we will have many questions to ask him post-race, and cannot wait to get to that HyperX post-race show, that is for sure. So, in terms of gaps, O'Brien only 1.8 in front of Taylor, 7/10 then between Taylor and Rasmas, 1.2 back to Chris Fowler. By no means is that battle done and dusted. All it will take is one mistake for O'Brien in the 45 for his teammate to be right on the rear wing, as David Sirah will continue for at least another lap here at Road America.
Yeah, Sirah not showing any indication that he wants to come down into pit lane here at this point, but we keep our eyes focused on Taylor right now. My question's going to be, is behind him, is Rasmus going to try to push this, or are we going to see a situation where Rasmus is just perfectly content to stay where he is and, again, pick up those valuable championship points?
Love this shot that you get of both the pit entry and those cresting the hill to start yet another lap. It is 5 to go. Word is that Chris Lanini has had a bit of drama, so let's pick this one up on our racespottv replay machine, and that's down at turn 3, just pushing too wide and finding out that there's grass on the outside.
Yeah, and you can see it here. He just dives down into the corner, carried too much speed there, wasn't heavy enough onto the brakes, never even got close to the apex, and that was really enough to just send him out and scampering off through the grass.
He's lost out to George and Zaldo as a result. Those are the final 2 cars left on the leading lap. 25 started, only 20 are running. Lionel Calisto, Jim Herrick, Chris Reagan, Mark Cohn, and Rodrigo Munoz amongst our 5 retirees here today, DJ, and that was after a clean lap number 1.
Yeah, and let's give credit here to the whole Lionheart Retro field for getting through that first lap cleanly. We saw a couple of scruffy incidents that took place a little bit later on, but for the most part, this was absolutely a pretty clean and green race here. And now as we close down with 5 to go, let's hope it stays that way with a couple of battles that we have fizzling.
So close through a couple of spots. Richie Hearn has had some drama of his own as well. Let's see if we can pick up what happened to him. This into turn one again. Too much speed maybe, or is this going to be on exit? It's deja vu for the third time, and that's a hellacious old lick for Richie Hearn.
Yeah, that's really going to damage the front end of that car. You can see him. He just gets on the throttle, tries to carry a little bit too much momentum, and a big, big lick into the front end of that car. I will be amazed if the suspension is still in one piece after that.
Doesn't look too bad, you know, but by no means healthy. 3/10 between Taylor and Razmas. Championship leader has caught back up to that MadWorks Motorsports number 8 and now uses that draft. As we'll start, 4 flaps to go. He shapes to the inside but does not overcommit. They have lost ground to the net race leader, but still David Sirwa is yet to dive to pit lane.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on David. He's definitely backing off a little bit, trying to conserve as much fuel as possible and keep that car running as long as he can. So I think he's trying to go on this one-stop strategy and see if that plays out. But I'm also interested there from that little look from Mike Rasmus. Maybe not a full commit to an overtake necessarily, but just trying to see if he could force Matt Taylor offline and force a little bit of a mistake down into turn 1.
Chris Staples has headed to pit lane as a few more make final stops here on pit lane. Zooming through the hurry downs into turn 8, they will go. Don't discount Alex Guyon as well, because I think Guyon has basically on the same strategy as David Sirwa. So here's the second of the Raven Lavoie Motorsports cars. Here's the race leader. Sirwa out of the final corner. Will he come across the line to make it 3 to go, or is it a trip to pit lane? It's a trip to pit lane.
I hate to see that for David. I commend him for trying to do something a little bit different here, and I've got to think that if the 99's coming in, his teammate here in the 08 will be doing the exact same thing on this lap.
Yep, and indeed it is stage right for Guyon. It will be O'Brien that retakes the race lead. Now 2.2 clear of Matt Taylor, who's got to deal more with the fact that Mike Rasmus, is filling up those rear view mirrors.
And now this officially becomes the battle for P2, as I've got my eyes on Sirwa right now. Sirwa's going to come out of pit lane right there, and those two are going to be able to get on by him. The question is Fowler going to slip by? Yes, he is.
Just about. It almost worked for Sirwa. But now he's got his target in sight, and maybe cooler tires is what he needs to be able to latch onto the back of that MadWorks Motorsports number 20. It is 3 laps to go, 3 more opportunities for drivers to find their way past as Ricky Hardin has had to come down to pit lane. But more pertinently, maybe Chris Lanini is going to have some trouble down into turn number 8.
Oh, just carries a little bit too much speed there. It looks like he knew that there was a problem going into it and did everything he could do to try to combat it, try to keep it up underneath him, and even that wasn't enough for Lanini, sadly.
We watch through the carousel this fight. Behind them, it is Guyon and Graf that fight for 7th spot. And Guyon has gotten in front after his trip down pit lane. So now, more fighting to kind of deal with, and this is why Road America is great, because fights all the way to the very end. In towards Canada corner, Sirwa's closing and closing fast.
Yes, he is, and I think he's liking the way that car feels, and as you mentioned earlier, Arjuna, probably a little bit cooler tires, maybe with trying to conserve as much fuel as he did at the beginning of this stint. He may have been, or on the previous stint, he may have actually used less of the rubber, so he's got a little bit more to attack with here at this point.
See how hard he can push and how long he will be able to push for. 2 to go this time at the line. The gap at the front actually came down very slightly. Chris Fowler feels the need to defend because that Raven Lavoie Motorsports car is within 1/10 of a second. He'll look to the outside and Fowler will chop the nose off and squeeze him to the outside.
That was a big squeeze by Chris Fowler. He does not want to give up this 4th place position whatsoever, but Sirwa still has a great chance to be able to fight back here down through the Moraine sweep.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised at just how hard that was pushed. on the run to turn one, especially given that now the run will be given again to Siraj. He'll be again forced to the outside, but maybe the switchback, the option here, if Fowler overcommits. Madworks Motorsports number 20 saw it coming. Again, Siraj will challenge around the outside, and with confidence and bravo, and gumption rather, he will try and make it happen, and through the king.
No!
Was there contact between the two of them?
Yes, there was. There definitely was contact. I think as Siraj tried to chop in front of Fowler, Fowler had nowhere to go and ran into the back of him.
So one chop into turn one, another chop this time further on in the lap, and maybe we need another look on board, but whatever the case may be, it's David Siraj that loses out big time in the battle with the Madworks Motorsports number 20.
Yeah, I think there that Fowler just didn't really anticipate Siraj to chop across him like that, and he was really left with nowhere to go at that point. Tried to jump onto the binders a little bit, but just had no room to maneuver.
I'll play devil's advocate for a moment, just to say that David Siraj had to slow down just to make the corner, and maybe Chris didn't recognize that one either. In the heat of the moment, I'm not trying to say that he should have, I'm just saying I can understand how that would have happened. So at the front of the field, it will become one to go for Michael O'Brien as we see a car trundling down pit lane. But more importantly, Matt Taylor has put some separation between him and Mike Rasmus for this final 4 odd miles at Road America.
Yeah, and I think there for Rasmus, I'm not sure if that was necessarily a back off from Mike, that he just didn't want to risk a good podium here at this point. But one way or the other, the gap holding at about 1.6 seconds between the two of them right now.
It's been a fun one. It's been an interesting one. It's also been one that's been tense without having the constant wheel-to-wheel fighting, and that is what racing can sometimes be about, DJ, and why we love it so much.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much a simmering race here in a lot of different ways, and we've gone through the different phases over the past 30 laps around here, and it's exactly what you come to expect from Road America. You're going to see that strategy battle start to play out. You're going to see fierce on-track action. You're really going to see it all, and that's why we keep coming back here to Elkhart Lake.
The Road Course Championship should go the way of Michael O'Brien, all things considered. However, we will get confirmation hopefully by the end of the show. Auto Club up in over a month's time. It is a long wait before we get to that double points season finale.
All right, here he comes, Michael O'Brien. Just a few more corners to go out of Canada Corner right now. He's just got Bill Mitchell Bend in the final corner, and he will be on the top step. It
is going to be a second win in his career for Michael O'Brien. He had to wait a long time for win number 1. Well, he'll be delighted that he didn't have to wait more than 7 races for win number 2. Michael O'Brien will take the MOZA Racing Grand Prix of Road America presented by Jewers Candy, and it is a 1 and 2 for Madworks Motorsports as Matt Taylor comes across the line in second, the championship leader in third. Chris Fowler fourth, some drama between him and David Siraj to the line. A fantastic outing to close the books on the Road Course Championship for 2022.
You couldn't have asked for a better finale here, Arjuna. Great battles up and down through the field as the final couple of drivers streak across the line here. It is just some great stuff.
It was great racing conditions as well, almost ideal you would say. We got through lap 1 safely. After that, it got a little bit more helter-skelter and a little bit more hectic. Gabe Wood, Ricky Hardin, they will duel to the line, but Gabe Wood at the very least will not hold on to 9th position because I think he ran out of fuel in the dying stages. One of the few cars to try the one-stop strategy. Gabe Wood drops to 10th at the very final stages of this race. Richie Hearn and Craig Forsyth, drag race between them, and Richie Hearn will lose out here. Plenty of photo finishes, and it's not over yet.
No, it's not. This is Trevor Malone and Chris Staples coming to the line. It's going to be Staples holding out here. Can Trevor get the final run? No, Staples will hold out.
And we saw Mike Rigney off at the final corner. Not sure exactly what happened to him. Happy days, though, at the front if you're Michael O'Brien. Extends maybe a bit of an advantage for second in the championship. Should grab him the Road Course Championship as well. No crashing in that number 45 here today. One step closer, of course, for HyperX in the team championship. And when we talked with Matt Taylor a week ago, or rather last time out at Gateway, DJ, that very much was the focus.
Yeah, it really was. They were focused in on that team championship as much as possible, as here comes O'Brien doing a couple of victory donuts as the base of the hill.
Now, did he not put enough fuel to climb the hill to do the donuts? I'm not exactly sure, but whatever the case may be, they are well-earned donuts in the MadWorks Motorsports camp. Ran 1, 2, and 3 at times. What a run for Michael O'Brien to his second career victory in this 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. Let's run you down through your simrace247.com race results. 1.7 seconds the margin at the front, 1 and 2 for the MadWorks team. Michael O'Brien with the second victory of the year. Matt Taylor second, Mike Rasmussen in third with Chris Fowler, David Zira, David Rodriguez, Guyon, Graf, Hardin and Wood making up the top 10. Gabe Wood the only one of those other than David Rodriguez to try the one stop. It worked well for Rodriguez, maybe not so well for the JD Esports 04. Craig Forsyth gained 10 positions over the course of this one, including Richie Hearn at the line, Danny Roberts, Chris Staples, Trevor Malone, as well as Hugo Gallus had a bit of a fight to the line in front of Chris Lanini, while Mike Rigney scored one lap down, along with George Anzaldo, Luke Daniels, Lionel Kalisto, Jim Herrick, Chris Reagan, Mark Cohn, and Rodrigo Munoz. A handful of those cars not classified. At the end of this race, multiple incidents through the course of the day. That leads us into our HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. We'll give a handful of moments for Michael O'Brien to join us from HyperX Victory Lane here to the RaceSpot commentary booth. We do have Matt Taylor and Mike Rasmussen standing by, so I tell you what, let's not dawdle too long. DJ Clark is standing by with the championship leader and third place on the road here today, Mike Rasmussen.
Mike, a good run for you out there, working that two-stop strategy to perfection. How was it behind the wheel?
It was a fun race. I love the setup and I love this track so much. Everyone was quick. I mean, David, Sirwa was really quick, and all the usual guys, and just kind of hanging on there in fifth for a long time, trying to save fuel, doing all that stuff, and happy to be back on the podium because it's been kind of a little while, and it's coming down to the end of the season.
Well, talk to me a little bit about coming out of the pit stop and then the last run there on Matt Taylor. It looked like for a second that you were going to try to maybe make a little bit of a move on him. Was it a little bit of self-preservation that prevented you from going after it, or does he just have the speed on you today?
A little bit of both. I think that I kind of realized that either I could race Matt or I could see where David came out of the pits because he was going a little bit long on his strategy. And, long-term goals, I wanted to beat David a little bit, so I would love to beat Matt too, but he's so fast. And, I've run into him a little bit this year, and I don't like racing like that, so I kind of wanted to give him a little bit more space and play it as safe as I could.
Well, you certainly played it safe, and I think this pretty much all but locks down a championship for you. Heading into Auto Club, what are your kind of goals there? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, I'm still nervous, still feeling the nerves, but I'm looking forward to that race. I think that's going to be an amazing race, and I'd really just like to get a good finish there, and hopefully I can wrap up the championship.
Well, I wish you all the luck in the world there, Mike, and we'll see you when we head out to Auto Club.
All right, thanks.
Championship leader Mike Rasmussen brings his graphics LC number 68 across the line in third position. We'll work our way up through the podium and over to second. Matt Taylor standing by. And Matt, I'm sure the focus with all three of the MadWorks teammates qualifying well was to run up towards the front, and you were able to do that. But how much were you having to think about fuel saving while working amongst the teammates?
We sort of weren't. We tried, tested a one-stop strategy in practice, and it ended up not working out. So we were just going to go out and push and see what we could do. And I had a bad launch there, and Michael got through, and so I kind of let him pressure David when we got around, and I just couldn't quite chase him back down. Just a couple little mistakes here or there, but I think we really weren't talking much strategy. I think we were just focused on just kind of racing each other.
Mike Rasmus was telling us that he really enjoyed this setup. What was your perspective on how this car raced around this track?
It was good. A little bit tight, I would say, but pretty glued to the track. I had a couple times where I just slid through the corner. This car is very interesting on the road courses and kind of what you can get away with, and how the balance really changes throughout the stint. And as the tires wear, you're kind of driving a car that is just constantly changing. So it's always really interesting. You get down to, like, say 2 gallons in the tank, and it's like the car just flips a switch and becomes something else, and you'll just find, I don't know, half a second out of nowhere. So that's always fun.
Auto Club rather, to round out the season. What are your expectations heading there in this Lotus 79?
I think we're just going to try and go in and come out the other side in one piece, hopefully. So I think I'd be okay with that.
Survival, the name of the game for Matt Taylor. A great run for him to second, but it was his teammate that grabbed his second win of the year. Michael O'Brien was able to break away after that first cycle of pit stops. And Michael, how important was it for that pit stop cycle to play out the way that it did?
Yeah, it was super important. I short-filled. I thought I'd short-filled quite a lot, actually, but wasn't that much. I just wanted to desperately try not to have anyone in my draft. It's very easy to follow in the draft and save a bit of fuel and then jump in the stop, so I was pushing hard that second stint.
You had a couple of moments as well in that first stint where you tried to get a move done and not always making it stick. How important was it for you to try and make those moves happen, or were they just more tentative moves to see how the racing was going to play out?
I was trying. David was defending super well. That was a lot of fun, actually. Yeah, David was making some mistakes, and we needed to try and pull some kind of gap on potential fuel savers, because there was a fuel save strategy there that could have worked.
Oh, interesting. I always like a bit of a fuel-saving strategy, but of course we didn't really see that outside of those in 6th and 10th. We said that, your teammate said that it was never really a possibility. Of course, in terms of the road course championship, you came in tied on this one with Mike Rasmus on 332 points, so I'm not exactly sure how things stand after this one with drop rounds and stuff, but you've had a great season on the road courses, so many pole positions. How do you recap your improvement from 2021?
Yeah, 2021 was very much a learning year, and I mean, having Aaron and Matt to learn from was super helpful. But this year I've tried to go faster, I guess, and Sean came in and really pushed everyone to get better, and it's been a ton of fun.
Auto Club up next. How are you looking to sign off on the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series?
Oh man, I mean, it's double points, so who knows how that'll go. It would be great for me if Mike retired and I won or something. I don't know how that would work out, but yeah, that's going to be like a 3-wide pack race the whole way, so that'll be, who knows.
There'll be nervy moments, that is for sure. Thanks for joining us, Mike, and well, we'll get to Auto Club and we'll see how the 3-wide plays out.
Awesome, thank you.
Michael O'Brien, his second win of the year. Delighted to talk to all of those drivers as part of our HyperX post-race coverage. Of course, though, like we say, it is now championship finale time. You've done what you've done. You've landed up at the season finale. And now you can just go out there one final time, DJ, and leave it all lying out there.
Yeah, you certainly can, and we will traditionally be running it into the night, so that is going to change things up a little bit for these drivers. But as you heard them all say, 3-4 action anticipated. It's going to be a very, very crazy race, but it's going to be a good one.
That's going to be, of course, live here on RaceSpot.tv on December the 15th at the HyperX Championship 250 at Auto Club. Going to be a blast, that is for sure. It is time to say goodbye, but before we do so, it is time to say thank you to those that make this possible, starting with the title sponsor of the Lionheart Retro Series. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit nextlevelracing.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com.
You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can feel what it's actually like to drive a race car. Buttkicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install and let you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine red line. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before.
MOZA Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, MOZA Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane.
Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls, precision-built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com.
And it's not just them, but so many more that make this possible. To learn about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series, or to learn about the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts forward, head over to lionheartracingseries.com, and don't forget to stay connected on social media for all the latest news from the world of Lionheart. Of course, don't forget, plenty of excitement still left to come before we go racing on the 15th of December to round out your 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. The championship decider for the Lionheart Speedway Series is coming up this Monday for the Gomez Sim Industries Championship 200 by Buttkicker at Auto Club. Join us on Monday, November the 14th at 10 p.m. Eastern at 7 p.m. Pacific. For now, though, on behalf of everyone at racespottv, thank you so much for joining us here to close out the Road Championship for this 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. For DJ Clark, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, we bid you farewell from America's National Park of Speed, where Michael O'Brien walks away with not just the Road Course Championship, but with the 2nd win of the season as well. But now we focus on the double point showdown at Auto Club. We'll see you next time on RaceSpot TV.